thesis.
Don't you actually find that kind of, for me, I hate this compartmentalising of artists and talking about artists as a wildlife artist or as, another artist as a conceptual artist. I mean, art is something that's far bigger than, you know, Picasso did birds. Does that make him a wildlife artist? Elizabeth Fink, you go on, yeah, art has informed and touched all medium and media. Does that make you specifically one type of artist? I don't think so. But
yeah, I think the subject presents opportunities for a multitude of means of expression, and you've just seen, you know, Marcus's piece and what was evident has been and will be tomorrow in, you know, all over the Birdfair.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that conservation work is stopping destruction, but we have to have a sense of the utopian. We have to have a vision of beauty because it's our birthright. We've been researching William Morris actually through Lush, and it's been fascinating because as a designer and one of our first environmentalists, he combined art and nature and design, and he had a vision, a utopian vision, and I think that's incredibly important. You know, it's not without a vision of what the world could become. The conservation side of it is only sort of one-handed, I think.
Well, it's sort of what Bill was saying earlier about Stephen's optimism and how he wishes he's had a big dollop of optimism. And it makes it sound happy-clappy when you talk about artists trying to be optimistic and creating... but you can create edgy art. You know, anybody who's inspired and who gets... it gets that sort of a fire in their belly. Can you use? I mean, I've made pieces using scrap metal from war fields. You know, I mean, it's been done before, but that was a point where you had to think about using something that, you know, a helmet with a bullet hole in it in a piece of work. You know, that's quite, you know, that's a history that's in the object that I've used, because everything that I use has got a history to it anyway. But
well, yeah, you were showing me your orc piece today with the
yes.
the back that was made out of sole.
Yes, it's a strange metal sole. It's called a tramp. You used to put it on your boot if you were digging ditches and you didn't want to get your instep sore. You'd strap this thing on. So I've made a life-size great orc for a client, and I happened to use this piece. I was just rummaging around. It's in the back, so I had to call it Sole Great Orc, you know, because it's got this footprint on the back.
If you haven't been over to the art tent and seen this piece, go and see that, and then spend, you know, give yourself a good time to go around the art tent, because there is just...
It's just absolutely packed with amazing works.
I mean, do you think that's also one of the most wonderful things about this fair, is that you go to festivals, as I say, you don't see so much, but you've got this huge tent, but it's always got people going through, and people get this chance to talk to us. And I think that's what I love about Birdfair, is that everyone it's so easy to network or whatever, but to have conversations with artists, with conservationists, with everybody is here, and everybody will talk because of this wonderful sort of pastime. And
well, it's a sense of family. I mean, it's quite strange for me in that, you know, seeing that poster with Dad's name on it, you know, I mean, he died 10 years ago now, and I hadn't been to the Birdfair until the year he died. So I was here, you know, a few months after he died. That's the first time I'd come, and I've been every year since. But to me, it was a strange sense of all these echoes of people I've known from other you know, relationships, you know, through the BTO and through people who've visited and stayed, and then there's the art side. So it is this sense of family and community. And I can see, you know, Martin was getting emotional earlier, but it's easy to get, you get so involved with it all, and it is, you know, everybody's got... I've used the phrase already, but fire in the belly about wildlife and birds, you know. And that's the thing, we talk about birds, but we're all talking about wildlife, aren't we? We're talking about, and you know, botany and everything. It's the natural world.
But you never know who's going to come along. You're somebody who wants to talk at great length about the technique or the work. And I once had somebody come along with a swatch of curtain material, so that they were looking for something to match the frame to match the curtain.
I hope you showed them the door.
Yeah.
Well,
the customer's always right.
Yeah. But I've got 2 sacks of scrap underneath the table on the thing stand. People have been bringing me bags of scrap the last few years. People bring me things and they come over and...
Oh, I love going to your studio and just seeing all those piles of things just lying around, these, you know, broken objects and bits of rusting.
I get so excited. Broken pair of shears, and you know, sort of like,
you can get inspiration too by the art tent, because last year we decided we wanted to do something other than just moan about people testing on animals. So we launched a prize of £250,000, and it's split up amongst various scientists who have made some advance to stop any testing on animals. And we had the prize last November, and it comes again now. But when we were looking for something, they get some money, but it would be nice to get something else. And the logo, you always get the bunnies as the logo, but I was reminded of the lovely hares one of the sculptresses has there every year. It's wonderful boxing hares, and so we approached her, and she made the iconic hares that they receive. So every single person who has got one of the prizes gets one of the hares to take home. And I've also got one at home, and I bloody love it. Milani was quite jealous.
But I mean, it is. Art also brings people together, and I think what I like here is it's not done in a pretentious fashion. It doesn't scare people away. Everyone walks through there, whether they're just looking, whether they buy a postcard, or whether they're going to buy a painting. Everyone's treated equally.
Yeah, and there's just so much talent, and there's things to suit everybody's interest and taste,
And pocket.
Well, and pocket, but it's not about, for us as a society, it's not about selling wares on our stand. It's about communicating with people and telling them about, it's sharing the joy. I mean, that's the perk for us on the stand.
But also, we've encouraged over the years people to bring portfolios in, so that you can come in and quite often you see quite a long conversation going on. Somebody standing there with and I can remember some very distinctive artists who've gone on to do some great things. First turning up at the Birdfair with sketchbooks.
And it was during your presidency of the society that we set up the bursary scheme. That was our 25th anniversary for our bursary scheme this year, and it's the 50th anniversary of the SWLA. And of course, Robert Gilmore founded it pretty much. Him and Enion and. Yeah, so
let the artists in for free.
Sorry?
You should let the artists in for free.
Let the artists I'll have a word with
where's
Tim later.
Tim and Martin? Yeah.
Let the corporates pay.
We pay the same as the corporates pay.
Boy,
Right.
us corporates don't always want to pay.
And the musicians.
The art marquee has been one art marquee. There should be two art marquees by now. There's 8 marquees. There should be 2 art marquees.
Well,
Listen. Let them in for free. Let the artists in for free. Let the corporate
but I.
I think these two are going to agree with you in a moment. I just watch that.
You're not arguing with us.
But I don't think. But,
artists for free.
Okay, made your point, mate.
Art is controversial, it should be.
Yes, totally agree.
yeah, I think it can be. I mean, I think. I think we're still quite timid as a band, as a strand of the conservation movement, as a strand of Birdfair, just as a strand nationally. I don't think we found that there should be elements that are speaking louder, speaking more passionately, and it suddenly came, but it came left of field. It came from a Turner Prize winner, Jeremy Deller. You could argue why he should be so elevated. We could have an open discussion all night about the merits or demerits of particular artists. But I thought it was very interesting that it came right in the same way.
I was going to say,
It's
Ghosts.
exactly the same way as it's been referred to earlier variously. Kerry's sudden appearance on my radar, many others of us radars, with this whole concept of ghosts. It was an extraordinarily significant turning point for a number of people, and I saw at the launch party a completely different audience. So as Kerry's described, whatever it was 4 years ago, I was listening but can't remember.
3, isn't it?
When you first got engaged, but came from a pop culture background, came across us. Shook us all up, put something in front of us, a prospectus in front of a group of people, and the response was astonishing to say the least, and it reached out to new people. But not directly in answering to your point, sir, at the back, but I think that we have yet to find a voice to justify. We're not going to debate it now, but to justify perhaps having 2 tents, perhaps having the whole Birdfair. We need to have a voice that more strongly reflects the urgency of conservation and tread in Della's wake as opposed to the Kingfisher on the no fishing sign wake.
But, you know,
that's a,
but
you know,
what you've been involved with, Bruce, what you've been involved with, Bruce, with the Albatross Task Force.
Individually, people are doing things. I don't want to shout too loud.
But, you know, all those kind of things of having an artist embedded within a project actually brings a different viewpoint. You know, it is this kind of interpretation, and it isn't all a softness to. There is a punch. There can be teeth within art.
Sure, I mean,
but it needs stoking up. There needs to be more fire, more.
Of course,
you know.
and as you're saying, you know, sending artists out on conservation projects, and you've done a lot of work on the albatross and things, and everyone that I know is more into working on projects and showing the work that goes into so many more projects. It's akin to being like the war artists during the Second World War. You know, it's a very similar thing. It's a social commentary. It's letting people know what is happening. And every artist has the ability and has the right to state their case, make their point, make their comment about however they feel about whatever's happening in the world today. And I think that's an important thing.
When in 2008, I was invited to go out to the Galapagos as an artist in residence, and along with 10 other artists over the period of about 6 years. And the art that was made there was quite amazing, because it managed to bridge that very difficult issue in the Galapagos about conservation and the local politics. Because basically conservationists are at war there with the local residents. It's a very, very tricky situation. The artists managed to be able to find a voice which bridged that gap, and they have an impartiality, but also a power because of that position. And I think there is a responsibility artists have to speak beyond just beauty, and I think artists are starting to grasp that and go beyond that and say, actually, nature is a political thing.
It is, absolutely.
But it needs left of field. It needs fresh. You know, and that's the first time I've seen your body of work. And you know, 4 years ago I bumped into you, and I haven't been to Venice to see the work. But boy, would I like to see it. Would I like to know more? Would I like to talk to a significant figure in contemporary British art?
I know Jeremy, so
well,
we can get into that.
But
talk about
yeah,
it.
I mean, he's addressing a hugely significant issue, and I feel everybody else is dancing around it.
Yeah, but as always,
politicians, the legal system is dancing around it, and it took an artist to produce a work that just took the issue head on. You know, no compromise at all. This is what I'm thinking.
But art provokes reaction like no other medium. I think that's kind of what we agree with.
Music, anyway.
Okay, well, I think it's time that we had a little bit more music. If you'd like to hear some more,
Oh yeah.
we've got Jackie Oates waiting to come back on, so we're going to get a set up.